Thank you very much, Meng. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you also for inviting me here. It's an honor. Before I get into the Intel side of my presentation, it was actually very heartening to see your presentation, Kelly. I'm a proud Fremont resident, and I have had the honor of having a lot of chats with Mayor Harrison and his focus on bringing industrial innovation into Fremont. I live in Warm Springs area, so I've been very excited about BART over there as well. Yeah, and also it was good to see, because all cities talk about, hey, I want to bring innovation, I want to bring companies, I want to drive all of that, let's start companies here. All of that is great, but it was good to see Fremont coming up with, hey, you can do software on hardware somewhere else. It's hard to do hardware on software anywhere else. And if you look at where the world is headed, which is IoT, and I'll talk briefly about that, you actually need to drive that convergence. You cannot do one without the other. And also thank you to Chairman, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. CEO of Wellex for hosting a great event. So I'm an investment director with Intel Capital. I should have the clicker. All right. So I'll give a quick overview of Intel Capital, and I would actually like to keep this more of an open discussion. Feel free to ask questions during my presentation. You don't have to wait till the end. I have a few slides that I'll go over, but I think the key is always in the discussions. So Intel Capital is the venture capital arm of Intel. We have been investing for almost 25 years. And we invest for a couple of reasons. One, to create ecosystem around Intel products, number one. Number two, to find new markets for Intel. Intel business units are busy with their current strategies, next quarter's revenue, next 2 years, what am I going to do, all of that. We look at beyond that, N+2, what's coming out in the market, can we invest and get our feet into that early on. So we are also effectively the eyes and ears of Intel Corporation in the market. We are a mix of both strategic and financial. So on the financial side, any venture capitalist you talk to, this side is very similar for us as well. So we have to make money, we have to bring back the money that we invest in via exits. And our function is both on equity investment as well as on M&A side. M&A side meaning acquiring companies for Intel. I think somebody has been calling somebody. All right. We do have a pretty global presence. I would say a big chunk of our investments are in California, as expected. So most of our investments happen in California, but we have invested in companies outside US as well, in other parts of US as well as outside US. We have presence in India, China, Europe, Japan, Taiwan, South America. We're pretty global in terms of Intel Capital's presence as well as in terms of our investments. I personally don't like to brag about numbers and all dollars, especially. I think at the end of the day, it's not about dollars. We have been very active. We invest roughly $400 million every year in startups, which is quite large if you look at most VC firms. So we are in that metric, we are probably among the largest venture capital firms in the world, not just corporate venture capital firms. But at the end of the day, it's not the dollars that matter. There are smart entrepreneurs like some of you guys. I've met some of you guys as well. There's Mr. Nathan at the end with a great IoT company there as well. So at the end of the day, dollars for smart entrepreneurs are available everywhere. What matters really is how are we helping you in building the companies. And that is where we think we have an edge in terms of helping you drive company strategy, in terms of hiring. Once you take venture funding, the next step is expanding the team. how you're going to find stellar talent. You have your own network, we have our network, we combine hands together, we join hands together and help you with all of those things. Then Intel obviously is a very strong technology company. Intel has always had a strong engineering culture. So we try to bring some of that talent also to help our companies whenever needed. And then when it's time for an exit, help you with M&A. We obviously see a lot across the spectrum. We have over 400 portfolio companies, so we see a lot of activity around exits. So we can get you in front of the potential acquirers. We can get you in front of potential customers, partners. So I think up and down the stack, as you are building the company across stages, we are there with you more as your partner to help build the company. Intel as a company actually is quite broad. A lot of people think of Intel as primarily a PC company. Intel has 95% market share in the data center space, which is a significant portion of Intel's revenue. Consumers typically don't get to know about it because it's all in the back end. All you care about is, hey, is my app working or not? But when you are trying to connect to the web, there is an Intel-based server, highly likely, helping you get the data that you're looking for. And at the same time, Intel has been expanding into new areas, particularly IoT. We have a strong focus on Internet of Things. And we don't just look at IoT as the hardware sensors you might put in this room, for example. We actually look at it as up and down the whole ecosystem, up and down the whole stack. You start with connecting either, let's say it's a connected home, you start with putting sensors in the home, just like the Nest thermostat. That's a good example, good famous example rather. But beyond that, what are you going to do with that data? Where is the analytics going to come from? And then how is the sensor going to talk to the cloud? So up and down the stack, you have to look at what the hardware part of the stack is going to look like for IoT, and then the software analytics, sending data to the cloud. And there are environments where you are challenged for bandwidth or for connectivity. Let's say somebody has, I don't know, a sensor in the middle of the forest. You're not going to get an AT&T or Verizon connection over there reliably. So how do you think about having analytics maybe on the edge device in that case, for example? How do you think about driving what Cisco likes to, Cisco is a great partner, Cisco likes to call it fog computing. How do you try to make sure sensors are smart themselves without depending on the cloud, or at least basic level of analysis the sensors can do themselves? Similarly, we look at companies that are driving new paradigms of security with IoT as a backbone. So if Wellex is probably a good example. If an intruder tries to walk in on a Sunday and you have no event planned on the Sunday, it's likely somebody who is not allowed. And how can, maybe if you have a camera that can analyze the face of the person and say, huh, I don't see this person in the phone book or in the Wellex employee phone book. Should this person be allowed? And what if the connectivity is not there? The camera needs to be smart enough and have enough of the software analytics built in locally into the device itself to make that decision, and maybe shut off all other access points as well. So that's a good example. That's one good example. The other type of example where I think we need local connectivity is, let's say a connected car, let's say Tesla is going on the road and it sees a bump. There is another car coming probably 2 seconds later, or maybe even faster. You want to be able to make sure the next car is aware of that bump before it gets there. You may not have enough time to send that data point from the first Tesla to the cloud, get it back to the next car. Maybe there is opportunity for car-to-car connectivity, device-to-device connectivity there. So we are looking at a lot of solutions in that space as well. I am personally, I am on the board of and an investor in an IoT company, a smart lighting company called Enlighted, based in Sunnyvale. It's a late stage IoT company done, I would say, quite well in this space and helps you with smart lighting and employee productivity for commercial use. I think the point I was trying to make with this slide particularly is it's up and down the stack. And IoT to some extent has become a misnomer. Everything under the sun that is not a PC, not a mobile phone, not a server is IoT. So drone is an IoT, virtual reality is an IoT, is that right? Right. So we look at IoT as specific markets, and these are the markets that we are interested in when we talk about IoT. Wearables as next set of connected devices, drones and robotics. I'm looking at a robotics company at this point for manufacturing use case. So we call that an IoT use case as well. AR, VR. I invested in a company called Voke, V-O-K-E, Voke VR, that brings live sports into virtual reality. So you could be sitting at home watching a 49ers game and feeling that you are there in the stadium. That's the kind of immersive entertainment we want to bring to the user. So we look at IoT a little broadly from that perspective. Sure, please. Our involvement with drones? Sure. We actually are quite focused on drones as a next set of computing opportunity. And there are two angles in terms of why Intel as a company is interested in drones. One is the CPU angle. We want to be the compute engine behind drones. Number two, Intel has a 3D camera called RealSense. If you Google for Intel RealSense 3D camera, you'll get a lot of information on it. Most phone cameras are 2D cameras. So yes, they can take pictures, but they don't understand depth. So if I take a picture from here, I will see everybody, but I will not understand that you are sitting further or closer compared to that person. So because of that depth information, the RealSense camera can help a drone with collision avoidance, for example. So look at, for example, a construction use case. There is a startup here that is, I probably won't name the company. There is a startup here that is being used for Apple headquarters construction, and they are doing all the drone work for Apple, that campus construction. And if you look at that environment, you have to be able to make sure the drone can fly in an autonomous manner, and drone is able to avoid obstacles. And number two, for drone to land back, typically there is a drone pilot trying to control it. Mayor Harrison is laughing. Yeah, you should be able to do it in an automated manner. Landing is important. That's right. Exactly. Right. We've had people with drone cuts. So those are the two angles why Intel is interested in drones. We've already made investments from an Intel capital standpoint, quite a few investments in the drone space. I think I talked mostly about all of these slides. These are effectively demo days. We call them Intel Capital Technology Days, where we help our portfolio companies connect directly with CEO or CIO of Fortune 500 companies. So let's say if it is a connected car demo day, then we'll bring in CIO of either Tesla or CIO of one of the big car companies. And we will bring in 5 or 6 of our portfolio companies, maybe some computer vision company or some connected sensor company, and we'll try to do that matchmaking session. This is something that a lot of our portfolio companies value quite a lot, because instead of trying to get to Tesla by your friend's nephew's neighbor, you can get directly in front of the CIO and have a chance to present directly to him or her, and that speeds up the company's progress. And we do this quite regularly. We have done, I saw an internal statistic recently, we have done 52 of these this year already, and we do these globally, not just in the US. We also hold our annual summit in Southern California. We typically invite all the Fortune 1000 company executives. We bring in our portfolio companies. We bring in some of our partners, venture capitalist firms as well. So it has been a pretty popular event in the startup/VC community. We bring in almost 1,300 people every year, and the goal of that is networking and enable matchmaking for our portfolio companies. That's part of the value add that we bring. So I think that's pretty much what I had. These are some recent accolades that I'll just glance over. Yeah. All right. Any questions, please? I think I answered all questions proactively. Please. I'm sorry, say that again. Maritime drones? Sure. We have not done an investment in maritime drones particularly. We, like I mentioned at the start, we are a mix of strategic and financial investors. So we do look for, hey, how is this company, this startup, going to be relevant for Intel in the long run? But if there is an opportunity, I've looked at some maritime companies, to be honest, not from a drone standpoint, from different standpoints. I have some, just maybe my opinion, I've had some reservations in terms of how the industry would adopt new technologies, but maritime drones sounds interesting. We have not made any investment in that sector as yet. All right. Thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity.